This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM, as well as the free iHeartRadio app. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be tuning in on a beautiful, sunny, not so sunny Sunday, but it's still beautiful. You got that weather where you go outside, you need to wear pants and a hoodie, and then you go back outside later in the day and you're perfectly fine to wear shorts and a short sleeve shirt. Where that in-between weather between the end of summer and the beginning of fall. Obviously, we're in fall, but we're still feeling the comforts of the end of summer. I went to a football game 2 weeks ago, and that was the first football game I was able to wear shorts and a jersey to and be perfectly fine. Now, granted, most of my football games I typically go towards the end of the year, but it's just crazy how warm it's continually been throughout the month of September into October. But you're not here to talk weather. I'm not the weatherman. I'm the sportscaster. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM, as well as the free iHeartRadio app. Like I said, thank you for tuning in, however you may be tuning in. You want to get in touch with the show today, you can on Twitter, at WOFX980, at ZachFS980, also on Facebook, at Fox Sports 980, at Zach Harris Sports. Check us out, streaming live right there on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. So feel free to check us out, Zach Harris Sports. But we got a big day today. Now, every single Sunday that there's football is a big day. Like we talk about in the sports world, football is king. It's one of those things we talk about 365 days of the year, football. But when Major League Baseball inserted the second wild card back in 2012, they could only dream of a scenario where you have 4 teams vying for 2 spots on a Sunday going up against the king of kings when it comes to sports in the NFL. You have all 4 games starting within 5 minutes of one another, from anywhere from 3:05 to 3:10. So nobody's got the upper hand, nobody's got the advantage. And not only do you have 4 teams vying for 2 wildcard spots, you have the Yankees and the Red Sox in prime position right in the middle of this crazy wild card weekend. Red Sox get a big win yesterday. The Yankees get a big fat loss yesterday. And that's what puts us in this predicament. Now, as most of you may know, the Yankees and the Red Sox control their own destiny. And they got 2 different approaches going on. Let's start off with the Red Sox. Since we are home of the Boston Red Sox, you can catch every game right here on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. We are home of the Boston Red Sox, so let's start off with the Red Sox. Their ace that they went ahead and got from the Chicago White Sox quite a few years ago, coming back from Tommy John surgery, has only continued to get stronger with each passing start, looking to make his 9th or 10th start this season. Roughly, so far this season, he's tapped out right about 90 pitches, 6 innings. But if you can get 90 pitches and 6 innings out of Chris Sale at a semi-dominant level, that's why you made sure you activated him. That's why you got him going early. That's why you went through the ups and downs of his pitching. But this guy, this is what he's lived for. This is what he's made of. This is a Chris Sale type of setup. And although he's still coming off that Tommy John surgery, although he's still healing and trying to get back to typical Chris Sale, this is set up perfectly. Game 162. And that's why I included this game in one of my tomorrow's headlines today segment that I'm going to do in segment 3. But this is set up beautifully for the Boston Red Sox. Right now, they are in control of their own destiny. They are currently in the first wild card position due to the fact that they do hold the tiebreaker over the New York Yankees because they won the series 10 games to 9. So that 6-game winning streak or 7-game winning streak or whatever it was that Boston went on against the Yankees earlier in the season absolutely has come in handy. Because if these two teams do meet Tuesday for the wild card game, it's going to be in Fenway, which typically you would think would bode well for the Red Sox, but not with the way that Giancarlo absolutely destroyed the Red Sox in their 3-game trip to Fenway not even a mere 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. But yes, the Red Sox have the tiebreaker over the Yankees. So if these two were to meet in a wild card, it would be in Fenway. Now, as for the Yankees, they're taking a different approach. This has been a more analytic team over the past handful of years. And if you want to call in and talk wild card baseball, you want to call in, talk NFL, you want to talk basketball, whatever you want to talk about, phone line is open. We're in the WGY studio, so we got the WGY hotline. For those of you that may not know, it's 1-800-TALK-WGY, 1-800-825-5949. Now, Aaron Boone is taking a approach that I don't necessarily agree with, but I understand why he's making it. You got Jameson Taillon coming off an ankle injury that supposedly he's looked good in his bullpen session. He looks ready to go, as close to 100% as one could be, coming off an ankle injury. But you're talking about a pitcher that's 0-2 against the Tampa Bay Rays with an above 6 ERA. And we're going to get more into that, but let's go to the phone lines. Fox Sports. Fox Sports, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Wonderful call. Wonderful call. If you want to call in, 1-800-TALK-WGY, 1-800-825-5949, 1-800-825-5949. So I understand the analytic view of why the Yankees are going with Jameson Taillon. You can go with Luis Severino, or you can go with Jameson Taillon off the ankle injury, or you can go with Garrett Cole. But Garrett Cole would be on short rest. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to avoid using Garrett Cole and hoping that between Jameson Taillon, and let's go back to the phone lines before we get into it. Fox Sports, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
What up, Zach? Me, Loomis.
Hey, what's up, man? How you been?
Good. I'm going to talk about, let's talk about football, okay?
Let's talk about football. All right, I'm going to get into that. I just wanted to finish my segment on the Red Sox and the Yankees, and we'll get into that soon, all right?
All right, buddy.
All right, call back in about 5-10 minutes. All right.
Bye.
All right. Longtime friend. But let's get into the wild card weekend. Like I said, this is a long time coming. This is an analytic type of view. But it could definitely backfire for the New York Yankees because if you do not win today, if you get swept by the Tampa Bay Rays, which my good buddy Mike, all the way from Louisiana, thinks that they are going to get swept by Tampa Bay. And I can't disagree with the way that Tampa's been playing. They have been the most consistent, dominant team in the American League. Do I trust them when it comes postseason time? No. But during the regular season, absolutely. But this could easily backfire because you're talking about a Yankees team. If they don't win against the Tampa Bay Rays, now you got to waste Jameson Taillon. And then in game 163, as they like to call it, if you end up in a tie for the second wild card position, now you got to go ahead and put Garrett Cole on the mound and risk using your two best pitchers before you even get into the wild card game, which is a one-game playoff, to go ahead and face the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, if I had my choices, I think the Red Sox have the best chance of winning and securing spot number 1. You got Chris Sale on the mound. That's what you brought him in for. That's what he's been for you when healthy. you have the best chance to win. Surprisingly, my second best team would be the Seattle Mariners. I like Tyler Anderson. I think he's going to do enough. I think he's going to pitch a good 4-5 solid innings, give up 1, maybe 2 runs, and then you're really going to lean onto that bullpen within the last 30 games that have been as dominant as any bullpen in the league. Now, none of that matters if the Yankees and the Red Sox do their job. If the Yankees and Red Sox do their job, it doesn't matter what the Blue Jays or the Mariners do. Doesn't matter. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. Coming up in 4 minutes, let's get to the NFL. Brady versus Belichick. Who's got the upper hand and who had more of a hand in the success? We'll talk about that next. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM.
Mass Mutual knows college planning can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Fox Sports.
I hope you're around forever.
That's so sweet.
You'll take care of me forever?
Of course I will, dear.
That includes paying for college, right?
Private or in state?
Private.
Honey, I've got 10 grandkids.
Oh,
My Milky favorite?
You still have that other grandma?
wild card weekend.
Today, feel comfortable about tomorrow. Mass Mutual, live mutual.
At LASIK Plus, we literally have thousands of 5-star reviews. Our patients love the service LASIK Plus provides and the outcomes.
You want to call in now, talk some
Check out
NFL?
some of our reviewers.
Still want to talk Yankees and Red Sox and Mariners, whatever, feel free to call in 1-800-TALK-WGY, 1-800-825-5949. Live, local, feel free to call in.
My neighbor was right. LASIK Plus is the best.
Oh, so your neighbor was a patient too.
Yeah, Frank.
Frank Doggy Dog 778?
Maybe.
He's our next stop.
At LASIK Plus, you can get $1,000 off our Wavelight laser if you're treated in October. That's $500 off per eye. Visit mylasicoffer.com. LASIK Plus, the patient's choice for LASIK. Must mention this promotion and be treated in October of 2021 to qualify. $1,000 off for both eyes on standard Wavelight price. $500 off for one eye. Cannot be combined with any other offers. See details at mylasicoffer.com.
I'm Serena Williams.
All right, we got about 2 minutes in break.
The girl from that alien movie you watch on demand. Our worlds have been brought together thanks to DirecTV Stream.
Why are you whispering?
Because the alien will hear us.
Maybe let the alien know you can get DirecTV Stream with no annual contract.
Brady versus Belichick. Who has the upper hand right now?
DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV and on demand with no annual contract. Get your TV together at directtv.com.
Everyone sleeps and everyone uses.
You're going to get a handshake. You're going to get a hug. What are we going to get after the game between Brady and Belichick?
With the leader in the industry, join Timber Sealy in an entry-level position, making up to $23.95 an hour to start with, not to mention health benefits, a pension, and 401k. Apply now at timbersealy.com/careers. That's timbersealy.com/careers.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
It's pretty bad. So for you,
All right, we got about 30 seconds, and then we're going to get back into it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Interactive, bite-sized lessons.
Phone lines are open.
You learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said no, he speaks Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Fox Sports 980.
Here we go. Let's get into it.
95.9 FM.
This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM, as well as the free iHeart Radio app. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be tuning in. Oh, man, what a great weekend. We have Wild Card Weekend going on. You have the NFL. What more could you want? Beautiful Sunday. Perfect weather to go out there and rake some leaves. But if your wife's not listening, don't do it. Save it for another day. If you want to get in touch with the show today, you can on Twitter at WOFX980, at ZachFS980, on Facebook at Fox Sports 980, at Zach Harris Sports. All right, before we get into Brady versus Belichick, Brady versus time, whatever you want to call it, Patriots versus the Buccaneers. there's a couple things, couple of little tidbits of history that could possibly be made on Sunday. Now, I'm sure we've been playing this to death within the media, but not only is Brady coming back to Foxborough to face the Buccaneers, but he is 68 passing yards away from breaking Drew Brees' all-time record for career passing yards. Also on that list, you have Ben Roethlisberger, who could pass Dan Marino for 6th all-time in passing yards. And speaking of Ben Roethlisberger, with 1 touchdown pass, Ben Roethlisberger would become the 8th quarterback in NFL history to reach 400 passing touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers, with 3 touchdown passes, could surpass Hall of Famer Dan Marino on a career touchdown pass list. Also, an interesting little tidbit that I thought was hilarious. Patrick Mahomes facing the Philadelphia Eagles today in his 50th career start. If they win today, he would join Hall of Famer Oakland Raiders quarterback Ken Stabler for the only 2 QBs to win 40 games within their first 50 starts. Ken Stabler way back went 49-1 with a 8-10 winning percentage. If Patrick Mahomes gets a win in Philadelphia against the Eagles, he would be 40-10 with an 800 win percentage. Lastly, but not leastly, Teddy Bridgewater has entered the season with 3 straight games of completing at least 75% of his passes or more. With 1 more of those 75% passing completions or more, he would join Alex Smith, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Carson Palmer, and Kurt Warner as the only to have a season start with 4 such games. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. I do like to give that little bit of tidbit information, but let's get to the solid of it. Let's get into Brady versus Belichick. The chicken or the egg question. The chicken or the egg question. This is one of those, you go to the bar, you have a couple drinks, you bring up Brady, you bring up Belichick, and you go back and forth. Who came first, the chicken or the egg? Who was more important playing a role in the success of the New England Patriots dynasty that resulted in 6 world championships in 20 years? You may not like my answer. You may think that I'm afraid to give you an honest, definite answer. But this is what I'm going to tell you. While I absolutely think Brady has played more of a hand into the Patriots' success over the last 20 years, I'm also going to sit here and state that Brady is not Brady without Belichick. There was a reason he got drafted in the 6th round. There was a reason he couldn't beat out Chad Henne at Michigan. He came in as a 6th round pick. He had talent. People saw it. He was a late round pick, late round bloomer. We know what Belichick was without Brady. He had a losing record in Cleveland. And through 1 season, he had a losing record with the New England Patriots. But let's be honest. There are a lot of great coaches that have great systems that fail in the NFL. Nick Saban comes to mind. With the Miami Dolphins, we would consider him a failure, correct? He wanted Drew Brees in Miami. Drew Brees wanted to go to Miami. Ultimately, the medical staff wasn't cleared for that signing, they go ahead and they take Dante Culpepper, and the rest is history. Then you got Nick Saban at Alabama, and we all know what happened at Alabama. Pete Carroll, another example. His first stint in the NFL as a head coach, he failed. Is he a terrible NFL coach? No, he didn't have the right talent around him. Comes back to Seattle for his second NFL stint. He gets Russell Wilson as his quarterback in his system. And they should be a 2-time Super Bowl champ if it wasn't for that pick play. That pick play that got picked off in the end zone, giving Brady yet another ring. So my point being is that Belichick can still be considered one of the greatest coaches of all time. But the leadership, the talent of Brady absolutely helped him get there. Because there have been many coaches that have come in this league and have failed or struggled to win because they didn't have the right talent, the right pieces. You need a quarterback in this NFL to win. You need talent to win. Ask Chip Kelly, who thought his system was above the talent. He failed multiple times in the NFL, multiple times. Pete Carroll, he failed his first time around in the NFL. Bill Belichick, he failed his first time around in the NFL. It's okay to say that these two are equally as important to one another. Now, since you guys like to put analytics on it, since you like to put a number on it, who mattered more to the Patriots' success overall over the last 20 years? I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say Brady 60 to 65% and Bill 35 to 40%. That is my true, honest answer. They complement one another. They're like hamburgers and hot dogs. Peanut butter and jelly. You might love peanut butter a lot more than you love jelly, but together they make an excellent sandwich. Brady might have had more of a hand in the success, making those big-time throws late in games. And say what you want. They won this Super Bowl by a field goal or this Super Bowl by a field goal. They faced the worst division in the league in the last 20 years. Brady has a winning record against every single NFL team he's ever faced in NFL history. Brady has a well above 500 record against teams with winning records. So go ahead and give me the baloney that it was all Belichick, it was all the scheme, it was all this. And I know a lot of people like to use that Matt Castle year. You take a look at what Brady did the year before, 16-0, one of the greatest offenses of all time. Was a miracle catch away from finishing off a beautiful, beautiful 19-0 season. And then you go to the next year where Brady gets hurt. He's down for the rest of the year. Matt Castle comes in. Yeah, they still won 10 or 11 games. That offense suffered. They scored 8 points less a game. 8 points less a game from what Brady did the year before to what Matt Castle did this year or the year after. So if you want to use that as an outlier, make sure you look at the big picture. Because while they did win 11 games, they went 11-5, they missed the postseason, it's because of the tremendous talent around what that team was. So Matt Castle had success with a tremendous load of talent around him. But you know who had more success than Matt Castle with that same talent around him? Tom Brady. I don't think Tom Brady becomes the Tom Brady we all know and love or know and hate if it's not for Bill Belichick. Because in his early years, he was able to learn and lean on that defense, in that system, in the play calling. You ask anybody, go ahead, ask Eric Mangini, who he thinks had more of a hand in the success of the Patriots. Eric Mangini was there in 2 different stints of Tom Brady's career. The first part and then the middle part. He knows. The first part, it was a little bit more Belichick. That defense led a lot. But go ahead and look at the 49ers back in the day. The 4-0 Super Bowl quarterback. He had some great defenses too. Never lost a Super Bowl. Good for you. You also had a top 10 defense every single time you entered the Super Bowl. But if we're talking about Brady, somebody that you don't like, who did have a top 10 defense every single Super Bowl he was in, now it's an issue. So while I think so much is made of who was more important, Bill or Brady, I think they go hand in hand. And yes, I do think Brady has a slight advantage over Bill. But that's just because ultimately quarterbacks are what help you win in this league. And without a damn good one, you're not going to win in this league. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. You want to call into the show? We're in the WGY studios. Feel free, 1-800-TALK-WGY, 1-800-825-5949. Feel free to call in. So, yeah, Brady versus Bill. I would give Brady 60% of the credit, Bill 40%. You can even go 55-45. But at the end of the day, without a quarterback, it's very difficult to win in this league. Now, what brings me to my next point. Who is this game more important to? Well, the obvious answer would be Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick needs this game more than Brady. And that's fully true. But I would sit there and say at the same time, if the Buccaneers don't go in and win, if Tom Brady doesn't go in and win, there's going to be a lot of talk. So I do think this game is important to Tom Brady as well. Because you know how quick a media can turn on a team. But ultimately, this game is far more important to Belichick. And I'm not going to take anything away from Belichick if he loses this game. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, that proves it. It was all Tom Brady and not Belichick. No Belichick, all Brady. I'm not going to sit here and say that. Because if you listen to the comments of Bill Belichick and you look at the team that they built, like it, love it, leave it. This is a team that sold their soul. They knew what they had in Tom Brady. They sold their soul to get as many Super Bowl rings as they could. And now they are rebuilding. They go ahead and get a rookie quarterback that they are starting. The defense is looking pretty good, but not as great and as dominant as it once was. The offensive weapons are coming along. You have 4 new weapons. Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, and your 2 tight ends. All brand new to the system. You have a brand new rookie quarterback. So the timeline for Brady versus Bill are completely different. So even if Bill doesn't win this game, it is more important to see what Bill brings to the Patriots over the next 3 to 5 years than seeing Brady beat Bill Belichick on Sunday night. Now, yeah, would it be a perfect cherry on the top for you fanboys out there that say, all right, it was all Brady, it was no Belichick? Yeah, it would be a little cherry on the top now, wouldn't it? But for me, these two are on different timelines. Brady went to a Buccaneers team that were a very good quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. And we saw how that worked out winning the Super Bowl last year. You can't win very many games turning the ball over as much as Jameis Winston did. Now, I still think Jameis Winston had talent. Just in the no risk it, no biscuit kind of offense, he risked it a little too much and he didn't get any biscuit. But you take a quarterback as smart, intriguing, intelligent as Tom Brady, you're going to get calculated risk with a lot of bisque. And that's exactly what happened. And then you look at the Patriots. This is a team that need to rebuild their team from the inside out. The Cam Newton experience, the experiment with Cam Newton didn't work. Mac Jones, they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice because Mac Jones is a hardworking, solid mechanic quarterback that can make quick decisions. Now, is it going to take a little time to adjust to the NFL? Point me out a quarterback that it didn't take time. And don't tell me Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. Because Patrick Mahomes sat for a year for a reason. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years for a reason. And even Aaron Rodgers had a rough first season as a starter. You're talking about a 10, 11, 12 win team that he took over as his first year as a starter, and they immediately were worse just because they had to go through the bumps and bruises of a young learning curve of a quarterback. And that's exactly what's happening with this Patriots team. While they're building the right way, while they look like they could potentially be contenders down the road, at this stage in Bill Belichick's organizational career with the Patriots, that's not where they are right now. So that's why I'm going to sit here and tell you, it may be important for Bill to get this game, but in the long run, we're looking at what Bill Belichick does over the next 3 to 5 years compared to what Brady does over the rest of his career. In a ready-made system, in a ready-made organization, where he got to pick and choose who he wanted to come on to the Buccaneers. He didn't have that kind of power with the Patriots. Now, you have Bill Belichick making all the calls once again without his star quarterback and having to build from scratch. And they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle with Mac Jones, who makes quick decisions, good mechanics, good work ethic. Those are 3 things that Bill Belichick loves in a quarterback. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM, as well as the free iHeartRadio app. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be tuning in. You want to get in touch with the show, feel free to call in 1-800-TALK-WGY, 1-800-825-5949. Coming up in 4 minutes, a segment I like to call Tomorrow's Headlines Today. So going into today, Sunday, what are some of the headlines that you could potentially see Monday morning? We'll get into those headlines and why next. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM.
Mass Mutual knows that your finances can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Mark, we should really talk about our money.
Yep, we really should.
Like, we never talk about our savings.
No, we never talk about that. Or our assets.
Or our debt.
Yeah, we really should talk about that.
Maybe one of those financial plans.
One of those will make a difference.
We should talk about it.
We really should.
Talk to us about financial wellness today. Feel comfortable about tomorrow. Mass Mutual. Live mutual.
Your life. Your hopes. And whatever you are searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business. And it shouldn't be anyone else's.
Tomorrow's headlines today coming up. You want to call into the show, 1-800-TALK-WGY, 1-800-825-5949. Best time to do it right now. Oh, man. Got about 2.5 minutes in the spot break. Some upsets in college football. That Ole Miss Alabama game was disastrous. That's what happens when you're actually scared of an opponent. You try to prove to yourself and others around you that you are better than what you were, and that's exactly what happened with Ole Miss. Multiple fourth down attempts that failed. We might be talking about a whole different ballgame, but instead 4 touchdowns on 4 turnovers. 3 of them turnovers on downs, 1 of them on a fumble. And next thing you know, Alabama's up to a 28-0 lead going into halftime, with Alabama getting the ball first in the second half, which they ended up driving down, scoring. Next thing you know, it's 35-0. In a blink of an eye. Stanford, Pac-12. Pac-12, whenever they play each other, those games are so hard to predict. Oregon, Stanford, USC, doesn't matter. Those are hard to predict games because when they face each other, anything can happen, and anything will happen. Oregon doesn't have the consistency at the quarterback play to be a true college football contender. It was a nice win that they had over Ohio State. It was a nice win. But at the end of the day, you need more consistent play from your quarterback. Now take a look at Ohio State. They're finally getting consistent play from their quarterback, and they're looking like they should be a college football playoff team. Same thing with Oklahoma. They started off slow. Getting more consistent play from the quarterback. Now look at them. Oregon just does not have the consistent play at the quarterback level. All right, about 20 seconds. We're going to get back into it.
Your families, get the test you need at the doctor. Disease can be detected early and treated. For a list of medical tests every man should have, go to ahrq.gov. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports 980 and 95.9 FM.
Got me up all night. All I'm singing is love songs. She got me up all night. Constant drinking it.
This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM, as well as the free iHeart Radio app. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be tuning in, 980 AM, 95.9 FM, or the free iHeart Radio app. Also streaming on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Feel free to join us live in the studios and get in on the conversation. I always appreciate a good conversation about sports. So I started doing this last week, and I'm going to continue doing it throughout the NFL season, and maybe possibly continuing it through the rest of my radio career. Now, this is a segment that I have heard on The Herd, funny enough. It's called Tomorrow's Headlines Today, and it's usually done on a Friday. I figured, why don't I bring that into a Sunday? Because a lot of the games that you're going to get, especially in football season, are on Sunday. So why don't I bring this segment in to my show and talk about tomorrow's headlines today, where I can kind of tell you what the football game's headlines are going to be. Now, typically I do all NFL tomorrow headline today, but I'm going to lead off the segment, tomorrow's headlines today. And if you want to get in touch with the show, 1-800-TALK-WGY, 1-800-825-5949. Feel free to call in. Tomorrow's headlines today. The Boston Red Sox will sail into the postseason. Chris Sale leads the Red Sox into wild card spot number 1 as they pick up a big victory in Washington over the Nationals. I do think there's going to be a 2-way tie for the second spot. I feel like the Yankees are going to falter, and I feel like the Mariners are going to get a win, and you're going to see a game in which the Mariners and the Yankees have a one game 163, whatever you want to call it, and the winner goes on to the wild card to face the Boston Red Sox. But that's tomorrow's headline today. The Sox sail into the postseason. Now, I was wrong about Justin Fields last week. And it wasn't necessarily because Justin Fields looked terrible, which he did. Absolutely more on the play caller. You have a guy who has strengths with moving the pocket, with making passes on the run. Don't push him to be a pocket pressing quarterback. But with that said, with the amount of pressure that's been on Matt Nagy, and I don't care what you say, you at least kind of hear the media, kind of hear the fans. You may not listen to them, but you hear them. They might be background noise, but you hear them. With that being said, the Bears field a win over the Lions. Justin Fields plays well enough in his second start to lead the Bears to a victory over the winless Detroit Lions. Justin Fields is a good talent. A good talent. And he's too good of a talent to play as bad as he did last week. You have the winless Lions. This is a good game for Justin Fields to really get his feet underneath him. He had a taste of the NFL last week. Now he knows what he's walking into. He's going to be more prepared. And Matt Nagy, if he's at least even heard the background noise in the background from the media talking about his play calling and putting a rookie in the best situation to succeed, their play calling will be better. They will get Justin Fields on the move. They will run him out of the pocket. They will move the pocket. They will let him create with his legs and his feet and his arm. They will let him extend plays. They won't push him and force him to be a pocket passer. So that's tomorrow's headlines today. The Bears will field a win over the Lions. Now this one, for all you Giants fans out there, you might want to plug your ears because I'm sure this isn't necessarily the headline that you want to hear. But the Giants march out of Louisiana with a moral victory. Let me read that again, just in case the Giants fans plug their ears. Safely unplug them, because the Giants march out of Louisiana with a moral victory. Even with the rash of injuries that the New York Giants have taken on in the last handful of weeks, the Giants give the Saints all they can handle in a loss. I think this is going to be a tight-knitted game that ultimately the Saints pull away late and win. But the Giants march out of Louisiana with a moral victory. Now, there are no such things as moral victories, but when you're looking that bad as a Giants fan, as a Giants organization, if you can hang in there with one of the better teams, one of the better coaches teams, that's about as close to a victory as you're going to get, especially over the next 7 games or so. Giants march out of Louisiana with a moral victory. Tomorrow's headlines today continue. We got 3 more. And if you want to create your own tomorrow's headlines today, feel free to call in 1-800-TALK-WGY, 1-800-825-5949. Also, you can put them in the comment section. Tomorrow's headlines today. Next segment, I'm going to do my NFL pick sixes, give you a chance to go on down to Rivers Casino, win yourself some money. This next one, it's not that creative, but I feel like we're feeding a little too much off records and not off what the record has been indicative of. The Ravens soar high in the mile high. Not very creative. Ravens soar high. They're a bird. In a mile high because it's Denver. Broncos come back down to reality after facing a Super Bowl contender. This game is easy to me. The Denver Broncos have faced 3 horrible teams. And guess what? They beat 3 horrible teams. That's what good teams are supposed to do. But great teams win the games that they need to win, the grind out games. And that's exactly what this is. You face a very good team. If you can get a victory, I'll consider you a good to great team. But good teams are supposed to beat the bad teams. So the Broncos haven't done anything that I wasn't expecting them to do. This is a defensive-oriented team. They chose Teddy Bridgewater as their quarterback because he's safe, not because he's the most talented in that organization, because I still think Drew Lock has more talent than Teddy Bridgewater. But Teddy Bridgewater is the veteran, the higher IQ, the more safe quarterback that can navigate a game without making too many mistakes, and occasionally can go ahead and win you a game or two. But with that being said, when you go ahead and you face the Ravens, who had a little bit of a letdown game last week, even though they won on an NFL record 66-yard field goal by Justin Tucker, this is just screaming for bounce-back game. Ravens soar high and a mile high. All right, this one I didn't really like either. The Rams clipped the Cardinals in a shootout. So the Rams are able to clip the wing of a Cardinal soaring low. And I think basically what happens is Matt Stafford's a difference maker as the Rams outscore the Cardinals in a shootout. We all know the Arizona Cardinals have the air raid attack. But Sean McVay finally has a quarterback that he trusts to make all the right throws. And then when things aren't working out, when that play design that he called wasn't working out, Matt Stafford can make the right plays, make the right reads, and make the right throws to make it happen. That's the difference between having a good quarterback and a great quarterback. Jared Goff's a good quarterback. Matt Stafford's a great quarterback. And I didn't need this season to prove it. Last but not least, Brady takes a bow in New England. Now, this has many meanings to this. Brady takes a bow as he breaks the all-time passing yard record and gets the best of the New England Patriots in the Brady versus Bill game 1. Now, the next time they face each other, if Brady plays long enough, will be probably in about 4 years, unless they meet in a Super Bowl. So let's go over tomorrow's headlines today. We'll take a break, come back. We'll get your NFL pick sixes, try to win you some money. Last week, not so good. This week, I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling hot about this week. Feeling a 6-0 week coming on. But let's go through tomorrow's headlines today one more time. The Sox sail into the postseason. The Bears field a win over the Lions. The Giants march out of Louisiana with a moral victory. The Ravens soar high in the mile high. The Rams clip the Cardinals' wings in a shootout. And Brady takes a bow in New England. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. Coming up in 4 minutes. You heard it. NFL pick sixes of the week. Went 4-2 in week 1. Forgot to post my picks for week 2. Week 3, very bad week. I did pick the Chargers over the Kansas City Chiefs straight up, but just 2-4 on the week, 6-6 on the year. Very bad week for me. But I'm feeling a 6-0 week because there's a lot of overreaction lines that I see. Coming up in 4 minutes, we'll get into that. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM.
Ready to take your sales career to the next level with the largest multimedia company in America? iHeartMedia is now.
Any predictions for today? About 2.5 minutes. By the way, I think there's a real possibility that the Jets hang in tough against the Tennessee Titans and have a chance to win that game towards the end. Now, with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill still there, I don't care that Julio and AJ aren't playing. This is a Derrick Henry type game where he's going to get the ball 30 to 35 times. But ultimately, I think this is the first game that we start to see maybe there is something in New York. Maybe there's something to be a little bit excited, a glimmer of hope. Not saying they're going to get the win, but a little glimmer of hope. All right, got about a minute left. Get into the NFL pick sixes. You want to drop your picks, who you're betting on, go ahead, right in the comment section. Call me crazy if you think the Jets aren't coming close to beating the Titans, but I feel this is a game where late in that game, in the fourth quarter, they'll have a chance to win. But ultimately, I don't think they do it. Derrick Henry's king for a reason. Less than 30 seconds left.
Showtime! Let's go play some ball. Let's be real men today. Go see some fireworks. It is now time for Zach's
Pick six. Zach's pick six picks of the week.
All right, you heard it. Let's get into it. Zach's pick six picks of the week. Went 4-2 in week 1, 2-4 in week 3, 6-6 on the year. I'm feeling a 6-0 week coming. I got the Ravens -1 against the Broncos. I'm not buying into the Broncos because ultimately this is a 3-0 team that faced 3 0-3 teams. And the Ravens -1 coming off a disappointing letdown victory, and it's crazy to say that, over the Detroit Lions that ended on a 66-yard field goal. Ravens -1 just seems nuts to me. Now, maybe the gambling lines know something that I don't, but I feel this is an overreaction to the Broncos being 3-0. I'm going to take the Ravens -1 at the Denver Broncos. Fly high and mile high. Washington football team -1.5 at the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think this Washington football team is as bad as they played against the Buffalo Bills. I did say the more Taylor Heineke plays, the worse he's going to look, because I think he's a good enough quarterback to get a couple of starts and play really well, but ultimately he's going to get exposed the more and more he plays. Kind of like Kyle Anderson a couple of years ago with the Carolina Panthers. I felt the same way about him. But you're going against a Falcons team that's riding a victory over the Giants. And that's more of a moral victory than an actual victory, because the Giants are just abysmal and shot themselves in the foot. No reason that the Giants should have lost that game. So Washington -1.5 at the Falcons. I just think this is also overreaction from last week with the Falcons winning and the Washington football team getting blown out by the Buffalo Bills, something that I stated on this show last week would happen. Next, Tennessee Titans at the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets +6. I told you, I think the Jets are going to hang into this game. Do I think they win? No. But I do think the Jets are going to be able to hang into this game. No Julio, no A.J. Brown. That means 30 to 35 carries of Derrick Henry. Controlled clock, tight, close game. Ultimately, I see the Tennessee Titans winning, but I have the Jets +6. I just think the Jets have been abysmal, and it's time for a game like this where they really turn it around. Lions at the Bears. I have the Bears -3. I just think all the negativity surrounding the Chicago Bears, their general manager, their head coach, and Justin Fields, they got to make things right. They got to call a game that's predicated to around what Justin Fields does well. And if they can do that, they can get a victory and keep the Lions winless. I got the Bears -3. Next, Seattle Seahawks +2 at the 49ers. Now, these games in the Wild Wild West could go either way. That's why it's difficult to pick the outcomes of the Rams-Cardinals game or the Seahawks-49ers game. When these teams meet, it is very difficult to predict the outcome. But when you're talking in terms of quarterback, Jimmy G, yes, he wins a lot of games, but do I trust him as much as I trust Russell Wilson? No, I do not. Russell Wilson is a veteran-led quarterback, and he's going to make the right throws when the time comes. That's why I'm picking the Seahawks +2. This 49ers team has started slow too many times. You don't know what you're going to get from this run game that's been dealt with a handful of injuries. That's why I have Seahawks +2. All right, real quickly, the Panthers at the Cowboys. I got the Cowboys -4. The Panthers dealing with a bulk of injuries on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. Cowboys look legit. And this isn't an overreaction to last week destroying the Eagles. I think this is a Cowboys team that's going to be able to put up a lot of points. The question marks surround the defense. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. Thanks for tuning in.
Doctor, I am very excited.
All right, here we go. I know I went through that quick. Only had about 3 minutes to get through that. NFL pick sixes. Coming off a bad week, I'm feeling 6-0. So I got Ravens -1 at Denver Broncos. Ravens coming off a letdown game, a letdown victory against the Detroit Lions where they needed a 66-yard field goal as time expired to get the victory. And I think we're overreacting on this Denver Broncos team that's 3-0. I like their defense. Teddy Bridgewater is going to make some mistakes at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this game. But you can't rely on Teddy Bridgewater being that quarterback that just never turns the ball over and never makes any big-time throws or big-time plays. That's why I'm sitting here taking the Ravens -1 over the Denver Broncos. Washington -1.5 at the Atlanta Falcons. This Atlanta Falcons team is bad. Offensively, defensively, they're bad. The first 2 weeks they got blown out, and then they were lucky to face an even worse New York Giants team that, let's be honest, they are suffering as an organization, and somebody needs to put that team out of their misery. But ultimately, I don't think Washington's as terrible as they played against the Buffalo Bills. I do think their quarterback can help put up a lot of points. I do think he has a lot of flaws in his system and in his game. But I'm going to take Washington -1.5 because I feel like this is more of an overreaction to what they saw last week. Tennessee at the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets +6. I just have this strange feeling that this is the game where we start to see a little bit of a turnaround. Now, I'm not saying the Jets are going to win a crap ton of games this year. They might not even win 4 games this year. But the New York Jets fans need a little glimmer of hope, and I think it comes in the form of today going against the team without Julio, without AJ, 30 to 35 carries of Derrick Henry probably today. This is a game that's going to be managed, and this is a game that the Jets could stay in. So +6. I don't think they win, but +6. Lions at the Bears. I'm taking the Bears -3 for the simple fact that there's too much negative media going on between the head coach, general manager, and their quarterback situation. Justin Fields is a great talent. They need to build a game plan around him, and they did not do that last week. They did not use him for play action. They did not move the pocket. They did not allow him to use his legs. They need to game plan around his talent. And if they can do that, Bears -3, hosting the Detroit Lions. I got the Seahawks +2 at the 49ers simply because I trust the Seahawks quarterback more than I trust Jimmy Garoppolo. Not saying Jimmy Garoppolo is a bad quarterback, but I just think Russell Wilson has done great things in this league. He's a veteran quarterback, and he can make the big plays when big plays are needed. Seahawks +2 over the 49ers. Last but not least, Panthers at the Cowboys. I got the Cowboys -4. The question's not surrounding their offense. The question is surrounding their defense. Now, this Panthers defense has been playing lights out. They're missing their first-round pick at the cornerback position. They go ahead and made a trade for another cornerback, giving up a tight end and a pick in that trade. Ultimately, what concerns me is the Panthers' offense will not be able to hang in there with the Cowboys. I think the defense for the Cowboys is going to continue to get better week by week. Not saying they're going to be an elite defense, but this is a top 15, potentially top 10 defense because the talent is there. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. Tune in next Sunday at 11 a.m. Good luck.